How are you? In this video, we want to talk about how can Britain win in a new and free Zimbabwe. Ever since leaving the European Union through what is popularly known as Brexit, Britain has to renegotiate its trade policies with other nations and with the EU as well. This time around, without the EU bloc. This gives Britain an opportunity to forge a way forward, a future where it can become once again Great Britain outside the domain of Brussels and even Washington. As the globe now is going through uh, renewable energies like electric vehicles and all, lithium batteries are becoming a very popular option, and the lithium industry is set to double or quadruple in the next 5 to 10 years or so. And there isn't much capacity in the world to facilitate that transition to renewable energies. China is leading in lithium technology. The United States, even though it was the pioneer of lithium, it is actually lagging behind China multiple times over. Britain is almost nowhere to be seen. Perhaps this is one of the races that the British need to consider participating in. Having close ties with an African nation like Zimbabwe that has got lithium at its disposal and other related materials that are needed for reindustrialization, since we are talking about decoupling and deglobalization and all, it means now great powers need to look unto themselves and to have strategic partners that they will grow with. Zimbabwe and Britain share a history together, and our cultures now overlap because of that history. And therefore, the relationship seems to be natural for me that as the African nation, Zimbabwe, with plenty resources and the potential of bringing along our neighbors in the region, like Botswana with the diamonds, Namibia that has got oil and gas offshore, Zambia with copper, DRC with cobalt and other necessary rare earths. Zimbabwe with all of these friends in the SADC region can be a comprehensive frontier for the re-emergence of the British Empire. By British Empire, I am not talking about the old style colonization, but rather I am talking about business relationships, symbiotic businesses relationships, creating supply chains that start in Africa going back and forth to the United Kingdom. The reason why I choose the United Kingdom is because of their expertise, experience, and amazing standards. Standards that Chinese firms have failed to keep in Zimbabwe. We have seen how Chinese mining firms have destroyed the environment in Zimbabwe. And today, there's also other Russian firms that are destroying the environment and not rehabilitating at all, underpaying the workers and helping to facilitate and to empower a government that undermines its own people. It becomes clear to me that European companies, for them to perform well in 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 a continent like Africa, they need to find strong government with good governance. If they don't, they also get to exploit people. So it is necessary for the British government to understand that partnering with a government that loves its own people will be beneficial to all. And partnering with dictators would only benefit dictators at the expense of everybody else, leading to migrant problems. The European migrant crisis is because of failure of governments in Africa. And in Zimbabwe, we have got an opportunity to demonstrate that we can reverse that trend. Perhaps that demonstration would help other African nations to learn from that. Britain is sending migrants or planning to send migrants to Rwanda. I envision that in the future, it will need to send its own citizens to Africa as nations like Zimbabwe emerge from the abyss in a new government. That is to say, Zimbabwe will need British expertise, British experts in various fields, not just in the mining sector, but also in ITC, in the medical field, security, development of agro business sector. And yes, we need to renegotiate the terms of the land invasions that happened in Zimbabwe. As Zimbabwe, we need to humble ourselves and look in the mirror and apologize for the atrocities that the black men did to the white farmers in Zimbabwe through land invasions. That dialogue is necessary to ease the pain on both sides. Both the Zimbabwean population that felt aggrieved of having their land dispossessed from them, and also the white commercial farmers that also believed that they inherited land from their fathers and perhaps were well suited for the job. These white farmers and other non-white farmers that were former Rhodesians or former Zimbabweans are littered across the world, some in Australia, New Zealand, some in South Africa, some in the West, and they still feel connected to the land and they still feel that Zimbabwe is their land. And of course, it is their land because they were born there and their parents were born there. They also are looking forward to a greater new Zimbabwe in which they can partake in that rebuilding and feel at home, feel respected, trusted, and not be reminded all the time of the color of their skin. Not to feel apologetic for being white, because it is not a crime to be white and be born in an African country like Zimbabwe. As long as you're a citizen, it is your right to fully express yourself, participate in all political engagements, and even to aspire to lead the whole nation. Zimbabwe is largely populated by black people. However, it is not exclusively for black people, but certainly it is for all who call Zimbabwe home, including other racial minorities, the Asians, and the mixed races. All that is a pot or a soup that brings out different flavors that make us unique. And I do believe that blend of all these melting pots, since we are a teapot shaped country, amazing. I think that this whole group of people could be a winning formula as I envision us leading Africa in re-industrialization. Our Zimbabwean experts that are littered across the diaspora, from China to the United States, from Britain all the way to Australia, need a place to call home where they're going to be accepted, loved, and be supported by their governments in their various adventures and whatever avenue they so desire to take, especially with these new technologies. We need to revamp our ITC strategy and how we can participate in these new technologies like machine learning, deep learning, artificial intelligence, and all. We may not compete in all industries with the Chinese. For China, Chinese industries benefited a lot from state sponsored subsidies and many other factors that make it easy for Chinese corporations to compete globally. However, I do believe that we can carve out our own niche or our own niches which we choose to compete in and be a formidable global player. I say global player because I do believe that we do have global leaders who are Zimbabweans across the planet who just need a government that supports them. In Harare, ladies and gentlemen, I intend and I propose to lead that government to take us forward, to deal with the political shenanigans that we face at the moment, which are because we do not have a clear leadership, a clear direction as a nation. We are tossed to and fro because of personal ambitions, greed, avarice, moral decay, in the nation without a spiritual anchor that can drive us all forward, that can limit our excesses. All of us, we are not perfect. We've got excesses that need to be limited by some kind of religious, moral anchor. My trust in the Lord Jesus Christ helps me to see clearly that indeed, at the base of it all, it is a religious calling that will make the difference. For without a moral guide, Zimbabwe will carry on plunging into the abyss. I look forward, therefore, to create this very pertinent foundation in our international relationships as a new government with the United Kingdom as the forefront friend, trusted partner, as Zimbabwe re-engages with the world, especially Washington. I look forward to seeing how the British will help Zimbabwe in renegotiating our position or our relationship with the global superpower and the countries that form part of the free world. As we re-engage with these countries, in Zimbabwe obviously seeking to join even the Commonwealth, it is important that these nations realize that the young government that we seek to lead and to move forward with is different from the old. It is a melting pot of cultures, a government that respects human rights, a government that wants to see its citizens prosper and committed to abiding by the rules and regulations agreed upon by its international partners. I know for some of you, you would think it is naive for me to believe that such a thing is possible. Well, as I told you, I have faith. And my faith gives me hope that we still have an opportunity and we possess within our human will the ability to bring this new Zimbabwe I'm talking about into existence. With your help and the help of everybody else in the free world, Zimbabwe can help be a counter to the threats that this world is facing at the moment. The free world need to diversify. Not only is ESG important for companies, but it is also important for the Western-led free world order to be inclusive even of nations that are not of the same fold as those in the current configuration. As an African nation and a black nation, for that matter. It will speak volumes if the free world were to include such a nation which is largely black into its orbit, just like the other white nations. What we are attracted to in the free world is the consistent move towards improving people's lives, improving governance. We have seen in the United States slavery being abolished and people of color gaining more rights, even sexual minorities gaining more rights. So, this progress we see in the West gives us hope that perhaps even as years go by, the progress will include the inclusion of nations of black people into the global order for the purposes of being partners and not just for the supply of cheap labor or low wage earners. I have discussed this topic before on this channel, and it is one of the biggest themes, the biggest challenges that we face as black Africans, the challenge of acceptance. I started this video by talking about Zimbabwe's partnership with Britain and how Britain can win. I do believe that if the king in England were to hold Zimbabwe by his hand, not only will Zimbabwe be grateful by obviously catering to the needs of or interests of the British before the interests of some of our other partners, but it will go a long way in easing some of the pain or historical pain that certain people in these parts of the earth have experienced due to their association with the British monarch in the past. Wounds can be healed in this way. And when wounds are healed, ladies and gentlemen, progress can be made. Great leap forward, for both of our economies, the economy of Zimbabwe and the economy of Britain. British housing market is facing challenges at the moment. And the British citizens, British public are growing wary of the British economic conditions. And opening up a country in Africa like Zimbabwe that is industrializing and modernizing could help free up a lot of British talent into Zimbabwe that will ease the pressure on the British municipalities. It is important to note that Zimbabwe still remains a pro-British nation with British-inspired infrastructure, British standards, and therefore it is easy to assimilate both of our populations. Zimbabweans are used to going to the United Kingdom and getting jobs there. And the Zimbabwean government, the new government for that matter, will be willing to accept the hand of the British to help us rebuild. My name is Ngobani Zondo. I am not popular. I am not known. Neither do I even have the support of men. But I have got faith in the support of my Father. And the evidence is His glory that follows me. And I have faith that He has sent us as this young generation to rebuild our own country, to hold the political bull by the horns and command justice and freedom to our people by the glory of God, not by the willingness of men, not by the will of men. For if we were to rely on the will of men, the institutions of men, the country will never be free. But we have to do this one thing for ourselves and for our posterity. Hence I say, neither support nor popularity are needed for this. What is needed is a resolve to make a difference, to make a change. Change is coming. Change is on the way. The Lord is on our side. I rest my case. My name is Ngobani Zondo, and welcome to the free world. God bless you.